Welcome everyone, Jen O'Sullivan here. I'm a board certified naturopath. I'm not a medical doctor, but I am someone who is very highly trained with lots of degrees to help you understand your health better. I have a lot of practitioners that follow me, a lot of nurses that follow me, a lot of people just in general who have wanted to learn from somebody that's not going to beat around the bush, that's going to rip the band-aid off, so to speak, shoot from the hip, but also give you fully researched back things as opposed to giving you just high pie in the sky claims that don't make any sense when you actually look them up. So I have a new book coming out. Some of you guys know that I've published over 80 books at this point. 10 of them are Amazon bestsellers. I really enjoy writing authentic content. And my new book that's coming out is called Rethink Wellness. And yes, it's going to be all of the little soapboxes I get on rolled into one to help you really kind of uncover the underbelly of the lies that we've been told and the things that we might have thought were true that aren't true and in fact are the opposite. So one of the things that I like to kind of help people is from a natural health perspective, obviously as a naturopath, from helping you see how much damage are you putting your liver in, right? How much stress are you putting on your liver, not only from the foods you're eating, but the maybe synthetic products you're using, supplements you're taking, obviously pharmaceuticals, but just all the other things that you might be doing incorrectly that are putting stress on your liver. So when I look at any product to recommend, and a lot of the products I recommend I don't sell, I actually just tell you go to Amazon or go to Whole Foods or go wherever and pick this up. Part of that is just to kind of give back to the community. I have done this for over like almost 2 decades now, but for sure some of you have been following me for 15 years, some of you about a decade, knowing that I really will help when I can. And obviously, if you like what you hear and you learn a lot from me, sure, pick up one of my books on Amazon or you can purchase from us on Patch EDU. But generally speaking, when I talk about a product that I know a lot of you use, what we're going to do tonight, I don't sell it myself. What I do is I say, go to the person who shared this with you. And that's just because I like to help the community out. Now, if you're my person, meaning I asked you to come here tonight, then of course you would go through me. But generally speaking, when I'm working with just a large group of people in a general sense, what we're going to talk about tonight is something that is actually upsetting the industry, in my industry, the health and wellness industry, from a lot of perspectives. So we've got a lot of trolls out there saying it's placebo. I've been even on like ChatGPT, just kind of perusing around, seeing what it's picking up out there. Now, remember, things like ChatGPT and AI picks up what people are saying and talking about. And so for me, I'm correcting ChatGPT a lot. There's often times where I'm like, that's incorrect. Like they'll pull data based on general population, drink half your body weight in ounces, let's just say. Well, that's incorrect, okay? And there's so much physiology that goes into how your body uh, pulls in water. And if you drink too much all at once, you're actually washing away minerals. There's so many different elements to it that I had to correct ChatGPT and say, actually, that's incorrect. The proper hydration method is sipping 4 to 5 ounces every 30 minutes. And they say, oh, yes, Jen, you're right. And here's all the studies to back up what you just said. Just generally speaking, this is what most people say. So you have to remember that ChatGPT doesn't know anything. It just knows what people are talking about in general. And that's part and parcel for understanding even like your sodium levels, why, low sodium is bad, right? Low sodium diets actually do more harm than good for your blood pressure, but it's just because they'll say it. And so I've had to correct them about that. Oh, yes, Jen, we see that you're right. This is the studies that we're based off of, and these are the actual correct studies. This was the data in that study. They will actually go deeper if you ask them to. Most of you just don't know the prompts to figure out what the right answer is. So what's fascinating to me about a product I'm going to share with you right now is, of course, people who don't try this and don't use it think it's placebo. Okay. And so you're going to hear that, which is interesting to me because, there's a comment going around. We kind of joke about you can't patent a placebo. Actually, you can. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off that. There's no, you can't, a patent doesn't prove anything. A patent just proves that your idea is a novel idea. What does prove things are two things, how I look at efficacy. I look at, is something actually working the way it claims it should work, right? So how do we prove that? Well, we can prove it anecdotally, like we can prove it with just like seeing, right? Like when we talk about a light bulb, I can see the light bulb works because I just turned it on. You can't tell me that light bulb is placebo. You're just imagining the light, right? It's like obviously it works. Like there's proof. So if we can have proof, that's an interesting thing that normally it's like, well, we don't need a bunch of studies if we can prove it's doing what it says it does. Okay, outside of that though, what else? Okay, well, if I'm selling you, if I've got 50,000 light bulbs to sell and 50% of them are broke, right? They're broken. We're not going to sell many light bulbs, are we? Because if I keep having people return them, these aren't working. I got, half of my bulbs are broken. Like your company's terrible. 50% efficacy is terrible. That's about, I would say, a little more than when you look at the supplement population, right? Just general supplements. How many of you have used supplements that people tell you over and over, oh, this is the best thing for you? And you're like, I didn't feel any different on that at all. And I was on it for like a couple years. That's the problem. Most of the things that you're sold don't actually work because you can't tell if they're working. And you can even take them away from your body and you're like, there was no difference. Okay, so here's what's interesting to me about this product I'm going to share with you is that not only does it have studies to back it up. Now, we'll be clear, again, these are internal studies to prove so that our scientist, the guy who invented this, can see, like, is this doing what I want it to do? Is it doing what I hoped it to do? And yes, they have found over and over again, 97% of the people they use this product on saw a significant increase in a specific peptide, human peptide. Okay, so not something where it's injecting into your body or taking a supplement. So peptide therapy is a very interesting thing to me because peptides are popular. People like to inject them or IV treatment them or use them as a supplement, and they just don't work. Okay, when you use synthetic supplements, injections, and oral, your body doesn't recognize them. So it's sort of like spark plugs. It's gonna kind of maybe jumpstart your body to create human, that's endogenous, but generally speaking, it doesn't do it. So in your body, especially when you consume them, even if they're enteric coated, that means they're going to break open somewhat in your upper intestines. Usually it's partial stomach, partial small intestines. They're still going to be broken down into their basic forms of amino acids as opposed to keeping the solid peptide that you want. So it's interesting because it just like when you really understand the science behind peptide therapy, it's the golden goose, so to speak, would be for us to get peptides that your body makes themselves. Okay, so we eat things that have amino acids in them, and then your body would utilize those amino acids to create peptides. So moving forward and trying to kind of make sense of this, to see an efficacy on a product that is actually doing what it says it does by 97% of the population as opposed to just 50% or less. Even if it was like 60%, 70%, that's pretty good. 97%. I found that the 3% that this product doesn't work on is because there's a user error, and that's like really easy to fix. So part of that is, again, if you had light bulbs where 97% of them worked, your company's doing pretty good. That means there's just a few bad eggs. So, so this is the interesting thing. A company, we had a 3,000% growth rate from was 2019 to 2024. So those years were the inception, the launch of this product. Okay, so just so you're aware, is like that first 5 years, that's an insane jump, a 3,000% growth rate. You can't have that. You don't have that if the product doesn't work. Okay, so year after year, different countries are having 140% growth rate just the year over year, not from when it was started to, so they look at the actual math on that. And some people will say, well, that's technically a 2,000% growth rate. And I'm like, well, if you actually do the math, it's closer to 3,000. So again, if you know math, we went from a $20 million company to a $600 million company in those years. That's a 3,000% growth rate. So Part of that is if you want to split hairs and say 2,000 to 3,000, it doesn't matter to me. That's astronomical. Any company that has even in the thousands, like that's insane. So that means the product does work. So, I for me personally, it's the point of it for me is that I can take my clients. I have 6,500 clients. I could take those clients and say, all right, I want you guys to use this. This is amazing. This is something that works. This is something that you guys are going to utilize. I can teach you guys on it. We're going to show you other things potentially if you want to make sure your supplements are used properly. We're going to get you healthy, work with you in that way. We do a lot of group stuff. But part of that is, how does this work? How do you use it? And what is it, right? So what I'm going to do here, just for sake, we're not going to do a lot of slides because just for sake of time, but I want to show you the product and show you realistically what we're talking about here. And what I mean by that is, how does this pair with your ability to say utilize this in a way that makes sense for you? So, when you look at cellular decline and understanding basically why we age, it's because of one very specific peptide. So there's that word again. So this peptide is called GHKCU. GHKCU was discovered in 1973. This is not disputed. You can go online and there's hundreds of studies on GHKCU, what it does in your body, the effectiveness of it, why it affects aging, how it affects stem cells. Okay, so we're not going to get into all that because the studies are already there. This is not disputed. Okay, the question is, how do we create more GHKCU in your body, human? So GHKCU is just three amino acids and a trace mineral copper. So that's all. It's a glycine, histidine, and lysine bound to copper. You get this stuff in your diet. So when you eat these things, your body just has stopped making them. It stopped making GHKCU. So the point here I'm trying to tell you is like, how do we get our body to make more GHKCU? Now we want human GHKCU. I don't want synthetic. I don't want a supplement. I definitely don't want an injection. I definitely don't want IV for this because it doesn't work the same at all. So if you think about resveratrol, a lot of us like have heard about this. Oh, it's amazing. It's this wonder thing. Have your red wine, sister. Like because it's gonna actually help to reset two genes. It's like groundbreaking. What if I told you, and you can look this up. What if I told you if we could increase GHKCU in your body, if I could increase this in your body, it will actually, and it's been scientifically proven, to reset 4,192 genes. It will either turn them on or turn them off, whichever direction they went haywire. This is crazy. Now, why is this crazy? This is so important for you to hear. In my line of work, the decades I've been doing this, helping people, my number one constant help on people are people with gene issues, and you don't even know it. That is why we have disease issues, is your gene issues. And things turned on, things turned off that shouldn't be, that are just out of whack. When I look at someone like my pastor's son, who has a very rare autoimmune issue, very rare, very few people have it. He, high school junior at the time, was a state champion, top of his game wrestling going into this. Out of nowhere, a debilitating issue where he no longer can wrestle, no longer can snowboard, can barely do anything. This was an athletic kid at his prime, and he was taken out from a genetic disposition, okay, autoimmune issue. And it was awful. And the only reason I knew about it was because the pastor did a sermon based on this disease that was mentioned in the Bible that he thinks is what his son has. Like scientists have said, yeah, we think that's what the Bible was talking about in this one case. As he's talking, all I could feel, all I could hear is the Holy Spirit saying, "Give him these, give him these, give him these." Like, and it's weird to me because you guys, I don't sell patches at my church. I'm sort of like, if you want them here, have them. So I went up to the pastor afterwards and I said, look, I'm a naturopath. I work with like natural stuff. I don't know what you guys are doing or not doing, but I want to donate a year worth of patches for this kid. I have to. He's my kid's age. They're the exact same age. This was last year. I'm like, I'm just gonna do this. He's like, wow, that fine, great, we'll take it. Like, who's gonna say no to that? So I went over to his house. I talked to the kid. Like, just I'm thinking, man, this is insane. This poor kid is like has zero life anymore. He can barely move. He put these patches on. I'm not kidding you. It was like a month later. I asked, how's he doing? Well, he hasn't had any of his shots. He hasn't had to take any of his meds. Okay, great.